The national spread of the revolutionary movement and the guerrilla fronts is such that in the principal form of struggle, the NPA can at will wage tactical offensives against the weak points of the enemy deployment of its limited forces. The enemy cannot focus on any area, province, or region without giving space to the NPA for more tactical offensives. At present, the NPA is striving to advance from the middle phase to the advanced phase of the strategic defensive in order to enter the stage of the strategic stalemate. It is a sound basis for the rapid advance of the revolution because of the worsening crisis of the ruling system and the escalating oppression and exploitation of the people, and because of the tempering and accumulated experience of the revolutionary forces and the desire of the people for revolutionary change. The wide, reliable rural mass base of the CPP and NPA is constituted mainly by the peasant masses who participate and benefit from the various stages of the agrarian revolution. It is a solid foundation of the local party branches and the local organs of political power. It ensures the ability of the NPA to engage in a war of fluid movement, using to its advantage the tactics of concentration, dispersal, and shifting as circumstances require. In carrying out the agrarian revolution in stages, the CPP relies mainly on the poor peasants and farm workers, wins over the middle peasants to neutralize the rich peasants, takes advantage of the contradictions of the landlords in order to isolate and destroy the power of the despotic landlords. As a result of the advances in armed struggle and mass work, the CPP has been able to establish and develop the People's Democratic Government in the countryside. At first, the organs of political power are constituted by appointed cadres of the party and the representatives of the masses, and subsequently by those elected by the mass organizations of the masses in the guerrilla bases. The People's Democratic Government is in charge of local administration, mass organizing, public education, socio-economic programs, cultural activities, self-defense, settlement of disputes, the People's Court, environmental protection, and social work to cope with enemy-caused and natural disasters. The enemy is whistling in the dark when it claims to monopolize political power in the Philippines. There are now two governments fighting each other. One is the revolutionary government of the workers and peasants, and the other is that of the big compradors, landlords, and corrupt bureaucrats who are servile to imperialist masters. The CPP applies the policy and tactics of the National United Front. It relies mainly on the workers and peasants, win over the petty and middle bourgeoisie, and takes advantage of the contradictions among the reactionary classes in order to isolate and destroy the most reactionary clique of the big compradors, landlords, and bureaucrat capitalists. The most consolidated organization of the United Front is the National Democratic Front of the Philippines, consisting of 18 allied organizations, including the CPP and NPA. The NDFP has been effective in promoting the revolutionary armed struggle and in conducting negotiations for a just peace. It has frustrated all attempts of the enemy to make the revolutionary forces and people to capitulate, and has firmly upheld its revolutionary principles and has applied its national democratic program. There is no necessity to negotiate peace with an enemy that is hell-bent on destroying the revolutionary movement of the people. The United Front policy and tactics have been effective in advancing the revolutionary armed struggle and the various forms of legal struggle. As a result, the broad United Front has been successfully applied to weaken and overthrow the U.S.-instigated Marcos fascist dictatorship in 1986 and subsequently the corrupt Estrada regime in 2001. At the moment, a broad United Front has arisen to fight and overthrow the traitorous, tyrannical, and corrupt U.S. Duterte regime in order to frustrate its scheme of establishing a full-blown Marcos-type fascist dictatorship under the pretext of charter change for federalism. This regime is culpable for treason, mass murder, corruption, and other grievous crimes against the people. Since its founding, the CPP has exerted all efforts to reach the overseas Filipinos. The more it has done so since the 1970s, when overseas contract workers increased from year to year. More than 10% of the Philippine population, equivalent to 25% of the labor force, has been compelled to seek jobs abroad. The CPP has built its branches among overseas Filipinos, as well as mass organizations among migrant workers and other sectors in many countries. The CPP established comradely relations with communist and workers' parties and movements abroad in the spirit of proletarian internationalism. It has promoted the relationship of Filipino mass organizations with their counterparts abroad in the internationalist spirit of people's solidarity. The CPP has made significant contributions to the critique of imperialism and modern revisionism and reaction, and to the upsurge of the revolutionary resistance of the proletariat and people. It has availed of bilateral and multilateral relations and conferences in order to unite, cooperate, and coordinate with revolutionary forces and peoples abroad. The CPP strives to do its best to achieve greater victories and aim for total victory in order to contribute to the resurgence of the world proletarian revolution and the national liberation movements against the intensification of all basic contradictions in the world, those between labor and capital, those among the imperialist powers, and those between the imperialist powers and the oppressed peoples and nations. We are proud that the CPP is now leading one of the foremost revolutionary movements in the world and is a torchbearer of the world proletarian revolution. We are confident that the proletariat and the people cannot accept the worsening crisis conditions of the world capitalist system and will break their chains in order to realize a fundamentally better and brighter world of freedom, democracy, and socialism. Thank you. Walang slogan sa dulo, no? Okay, ano yan? Okay ba?